How's your family this morning?
They're okay.
Yeah?
I'm up at like 6:30.
Yeah?
Do you want to say anything to the people on the stream so that they know you're...
That I'm here, that I'm live, and I'm well?
Yeah, there's a couple people in.
Who do we got?
Yeah, but we should probably wait for...
We should probably wait for Andrew.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple people. We have Kavanta.
Cavante? Good morning, Cavante. What's going on, man? How are you? Yeah, we got to mute our devices here. High tech and low class. That's us, man. I tell you. It's nice and brisk in here. Who else is on? Cavante. Baz is in. Good morning, Baz. Good to see you again this morning. Waiting on Amanda.
I don't see Amanda yet.
I feel like this is like the Houston Space Station, like we're just getting ready to launch. And Andrew must be fighting with the printer, which is exciting. All right, I'm going to start in 1 minute regardless. Is there any way that you can make that next slide up a little larger on that screen, Natalie? I have pretty good eyes, but do you have anything earth-shattering hit your mind last night, John, afterwards? That's good. That's much better.
No.
Awesome. Means we used all the brain waves possible. Very good.
Sorry that took so long to answer.
It took a long time just to get the answer. I could do an entire audit. All right, so let's get started then. Anybody that hasn't joined, you'll have to watch back, so it is what it is. All right, so look, this is day number 2 of training. Hopefully you guys took away a lot of good things yesterday with our focus of making sure that we're reaching our objective on the Gusto. So if you didn't know how to use or navigate Gusto, then you're overdue and you need to make sure that you know that. So today's objectives are a little bit more simplistic, if you remember. Okay. So today's objectives are to make sure that we have nomenclature, calendars. We understand how to create tasks. We understand the intent and use of our quadrants, and that we understand our funnels. Right? Those are the objectives today, that you have mastered those types of things. So again, nomenclature, calendar, tasks, quadrant, and funnel. And so anyways, we're going to start today by talking a little bit more about the calendar, because yesterday, and the objective for today when it comes to calendars is really to be able to understand how to navigate them, how to create events, and most importantly, the 2 things in particular yesterday was budgeting time and blocking time, right? So that way we could project as opposed to react. That's really the intent of the calendar. And the farther out you're able to see, the more beneficial it is going to be for you to have success, because what happens a lot of times is you're going to have things that jump up to you or jump up at you going, hey, you know what, like, take care of me right now. And what you need to learn is to be disciplined and be able to delegate, something we call delegate to future you. So if you don't have a calendar that's anything but today, it's very difficult to be able to plan and delegate to the future you. So that's some of the concepts of what we're going to continue to talk through when it comes to calendar. All right, so next slide. So what we're going to discuss is really being able to start working from an overall 4-week plan and work all the way down and see that plan go to 2 weeks, to 1 week, to today. And so the reason for this is we want to be able to, one of the things that we teach our district managers, and I'll explain that because we'll then explain how it is relevant to you, the sales rep. But we teach our district managers that they need to be able to see a month in advance. And so they are responsible for having a 4-week calendar that's rolling, essentially. So at the end of each week, they fill out another week at the tail end of that, right? And so my expectation for them is that the last 2 weeks are at a 50% solidified version, right? So there's certain things that they know that they're going to have to do every single week. And those are specific meetings, or those are checkpoints or pivots, things of that nature. And then they need to start working towards the next 2 weeks, which is this week and next week, to be at an 85% solidification. So what that means is that if they had 100 events on that calendar, 85 of them should not move. And so some of you heard Jeffrey talk about yesterday that he gained a surplus of 7 minutes, which meant that he had blocked out, let's say, an hour of time to do something, and he was able to accomplish all the things, all the tasks in that in 53 minutes instead of 60. And so therefore he had a surplus of 7 minutes. And so that's kind of the way that we look at, going back to where we started yesterday, where we have to understand that time is valuable. It's the most valuable asset that any of us own. The difference between me and most of you at this point is that I value my time much greater than you have in the past, but we're going to change that over the next 3 weeks because I want your time to be productive, not just busy. And that is for not only in your professional life, but also in your personal life. And so that's kind of the idea behind why we put such an emphasis on calendars and put such an emphasis on making sure that we're working through a strategic plan on a monthly basis so that we can see far enough out so when things that jump up hinder us, we have a place to put them. And so in order to make sure that you have the ability to put together a plan that allows for 85% conversion on a 2-week basis, meaning that this week and next week, we're working towards being able to hit it an 85% conversion, 85 out of 100 events, if that's what was on our calendar, then we have to understand that there's 3 types of information that is going to be relevant to our calendars. And so those 3 things are things that I know, things that I don't know, and things that are unknown. Things that I know, things that I don't know, and things that are unknown. And so let me explain a little bit, and I'll use this quick analogy. Baz lives in Richmond. He's our Richmond district manager, and I've used him before, and he's on the screen. So if he decides, he knows that he's going to be here tomorrow to visit with us and to work in the office, he knows that that's roughly a 2-hour trip, right? That's something that he knows. So when he's planning for his day on a calendar, he goes, well, I gotta plan 2 hours to drive here. If I've got to be here by 9 a.m., I've got to leave at 7 a.m. That's things that we know, right? Now, there's things that we don't know, and these are things that a lot of times we allow to be excuses. And so the things that you don't know are, well, there's traffic, right? So he may leave tomorrow and there's a 15-minute stoppage of traffic. Well, just because that may happen tomorrow, what he needs to know or use is the things that he knows that he's leaving during what? He's leaving during the busiest time of Richmond's traffic flow. So he knows that. So therefore, the unknown or the don't know of, hey, you know what, I may or may not get stuck in a little bit of traffic is kind of unexcusable because it's lack of planning and preparation. Does that make sense? So when he's looking at his plan to get here tomorrow and he's looking at his calendar, he should plan for the 2 hours, the things that he does know, and he should also prepare for what? The things that he doesn't know, which is the traffic. And so what you have is, instead of planning for, if he's planning to be here on time, which would not be 9 o'clock, it'd be 8:55, then he would need to leave at not 7:55, but what, 15 minutes before that, which would be 7:40. He would need to leave his house at 7:40 to make sure that he was here on time. Does that make sense? All right, so that's the things that we know. That's the things that we don't know. Well, what about the unknowns, right? The things that we have no idea are going to happen. Well, that's essentially if Baz was driving here and he blew a tire. Well, now that kind of blows up things, doesn't it? And so what we look at is, when we're looking at a calendar, we don't allow for excuses when it comes to things that we know or things that we don't know. Because it's mathematics when you look at it through that prism, going, well, I should be able to know most of the things that I don't know, right? Because traffic is I don't know if I'm getting stuck in traffic today, but if I'm smart enough to go and plan and go, hey, you know what, traffic kind of occurs between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. in most major cities, then I can kind of know that, right? And I can prepare for that. Then we don't allow for excuses for those two. We do allow for what we call audibles when it comes to the unknowns. So he blows a tire. That's something that's going to cause a fair amount of distress to his calendar, right? And his plan for the day. And so what we look for at that point is to go and say, okay, well, that tire blew. Hopefully I'm not jinxing you, Baz, for tomorrow. But anyways, that tire blew. Now I need to stop and I need to readjust my plan and preparation. See, so often what happens is that we start running and we're like, okay, well, now I've got to just try and get everything else done that I was already going to get done. And then what does that turn into? It turns into overwhelming feeling and not being able to actually be productive in anything, because we're just running around like a chicken with our head cut off. As opposed to stopping, going, hey, you know what? Now my plan's changed. I need to call an audible and I need to adjust what my plan is to make sure that, okay, these things that are on my calendar today, I need to prioritize and know that these things have to get done. But some of these other things that I had planned, I need to now delegate to future me. And so that's kind of the way that we look at the calendars and in a useful sense to be able to help. Because look, life happens, right? There's going to be things that we know. There's going to be things that we can prepare for that we don't know. But there's also going to be things that are unknown that are going to occur. And so we need to make sure that we're strategic about it in all three categories. And so often we focus too much on the things that we don't know and allow that to be an excuse for why we have the results that we do when it comes to planning, when the only thing that should be excusable should be the unknowns. And most importantly, then we should be disciplined to stop what we're doing and reassess, reprioritize, and delegate what we can't accomplish today to future you. All right? Now, before I get too much farther along, one of the things that I need to say is we did a pretty crappy job yesterday of asking questions in the feed. So you need to ask questions in the feed, because if not, I'm not going to answer questions, and my team's not going to answer questions between your independent work today. So you need to ask questions in the feed so that we can continue to be structured with how we go about these things, okay? So that's just a public service announcement. All right, next slide. So that's 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 day. That's what we're working towards as we go throughout this week. All right, so this is a task for filling out your 4-week calendar. So every salesperson gets this task sent to them on a monthly basis. And so what this task is it's requiring you to fill out and submit your 4-week plan of working days. Not your availabilities for demos, not your availabilities to be in the stores, not your prospecting, connecting, none of that. It's just these are your planned days of working. Jeff and I talked about this a little bit yesterday when we were talking to John about how these are the days where you're going to submit that, and if you have off for the next 4 weeks every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're probably going to have a conversation and go, I don't know if that's going to be conducive for you reaching your goals. Right? But this is when it needs to be done. You're going to get this task and it needs to be submitted so that the district manager can approve it by the 15th of every month. Okay? So that means that you need to make sure on your calendar as a sales rep that you have time set aside for the week of the 15th, whatever day that's going to be. You've got time set aside to make sure that you've got a solid working plan for your next 4 weeks. Okay? And that again is just about what? It's just about the days that you're going to be working, right? So these are the 5 days, these are the 6 days. I want to work 7 days, I want to work 8 days, I don't care, right? But you submit how many days you want to work, and that's when you and your district manager will have a conversation to review on the 15th for approval. All right, so that's what that task is going to look like. And this is what your availability needs to look like. So we talked about, that's the 4-week. When you go to that funnel that we had, that Natalie had provided us on the screen, we had a 4-week, a 2-week, a 1-week, and a 1-day. And so this is our full availability. So when it comes to the 2-week, and so what you're going to see here is, and this is a district manager's view of being able to see his or her sales reps in a specific district and the availability, the days that they have available for running appointments. So you can see that Janelle has off on the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, for example. And so this is what you'll submit, this is what you'll fill out, so that you now know that this is the days for the 4-week as to what you're going to be available for working. Okay? All right, next. So then let's talk about the rolling 4th week. So my suggestion would be, again, the point of training is for me to share with you the tools that we have, for you to use them, for you to take ownership of them. If you choose not to, then you know what, that's okay. I'm sure you're smarter than me, so that's okay. But look, the rolling 4th week. So here would be my suggestion. Once you come out of training, so later this week, we are going to Thursday, one of the objectives that we are going to have is to fill out your availability for the next 4 weeks, okay? And the other part of that is that we're going to then also work on the 2-week and the 1-week and some of those things. So there's an objective. If you have your quadrant out, that should probably be going where? On your objectives, right? So anyways, what I would suggest doing is on your calendar forevermore, at some point on that week, I would have a day set aside or a time block set aside to spend assessing the 4 types of calendars, right? Which is your 4-week, your 2-week, your 1-week, and your 1-day, right? Well, you don't really need your 1-day, sorry. Your 3 types of calendars, right? Your 4-week, your 2-week, and your 1-week. And I don't think that needs to be a huge amount of time, but one of the things that I would stress is we're trying to continue to focus on learning how to be in good relationship with time and valuing time, is how proficient are you at planning out this week and next week? So I challenge my district managers, I would tell you to do this as well, is if you have a printer, print out your calendar for today. Just today's version when you get to this point, right? When you're blocking out everything, print it out and actually look at how you're doing in comparison to how you planned. It's a great game, right? If you have 5, 6, 7, 8 time blocks on there for various things, were you able to actually hit those times? Were you able to do like Jeff did and have surplus? Or was your planning kind of poor and you ran over, or you had to delegate to future you? Those are great things to try and work towards, because if you're not taking the time to assess at times of, and that's what I loved about what Tommy said yesterday, of taking that funnel and the first things and going, hey, how do I actually compare to some of these things? Well, let me assess. The 4-week, what I would tell you is putting on your calendar 1 day a week, having a time block for your calendar to make sure that you are assessing those 4-week, 2-week, and 1 weeks is important, as well as taking the time to do a rolling 4th week. So you're now at the end. What I would do is probably on a Thursday or Friday or a Saturday, I would take and have that time block there, because guess what? I just finished a week. So now I only have 3 weeks on my calendar. So guess what? I can go ahead and just put together my time blocking for 1 week instead of waiting for it to dwindle down to 1 or 2 weeks and then I have to spend a bunch more time filling in my calendar, right? So again, it's just it's those little things that will help you if you're paying attention, you're preparing as opposed to reacting, Okay, does that make sense? So that's what I would suggest, is making sure that you're updating your calendar for the rolling 4th week at all times. So 4 weeks, what am I working towards? 2 weeks, what is coming up that I need to prepare for? 1 week, my current focuses and objectives, and 1 day, pivot, projected results, planning, expectations. So, like we were saying before, the 4 weeks is really, if you can think about this as a salesperson, being able to know what you're going to be accomplishing for the next 4 weeks of work is actually really beneficial to your work-life balance. Because like we talked about yesterday, you now have the ability not just to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to be working this day or that day, this week. You can now go and say, hey, you know what, I'd like to go take a hiking trip, or I'd like to go to the beach, or whatever else, right? Like you can start planning and going, hey, I got a couple days off here, and I'd like to be able to go spend time with my friends or my family. That's a great way to be strategic by seeing 4 weeks in advance, as opposed to just trying to wing it day by day. And it allows you to align those goals with, or those objectives that you have personally with your goals professionally. So for example, if you're working and you're like, hey, you know what? Like I want to be $1 million sales rep, then that means that you're probably going to kind of cut back on some of the personal stuff that you have, because you want to hit those professional goals. But if you're somebody that just goes, hey, you know what, I want to hit my quotas, I want to hit 200K in a quarter, 180K, like I want to make sure that I'm staying, doing my job, but I'm not really that interested in, sacrificing all this personal life, then that also allows you that ability to budget that time how you would like to spend it over the next 4 weeks, right? And so that's really the 4-week plan. Making sure that also if you have doctor's appointments, or you have, you got to go to the DMV, or you got to go do this, or whatever else, you're planning out far enough so that you can be in good relationship with who? With yourself and with the person that you're accountable to, meaning your district manager, right? And so that is all part of that funnel when we talk about goals plus accomplishment, because you have to balance all those things. You have to balance the personal side, you have to balance the professional side, and you need to be in good relationship and trust with yourself as well as the people that you're making commitments to. So that would be my suggestion there. The 2 weeks, what is coming up that I need to prepare for? So again, the next 2 weeks, and that's why we started yesterday with what? We gave you some solid objectives when we looked at this is where we want to be by the end of the week, and this is where we want to be by the end of 2 weeks, and this is where we want to be at the end of 3 weeks. And what did you see in that? Well, there's a lot more information on the week 1, isn't there? And then there's still some overview objectives on week 2, and then at the end, at day 15, there's one objective, which is be a stud, right? Be competent, be ready, be able to hit your performance review, and be able to set the course for the next 90 days. And so that's a great example as to what your assessment of your calendar should be on a daily and weekly basis, is constantly looking and going, okay, here's how I want to forecast. What do I need to be preparing for? Because as a sales rep, again, your goals are very cut and dry. The only thing that you don't know from a goal standpoint today is how do you want to develop more as a person and as a professional. And we won't know that until we get to the end of day 15 or the end of day 14, really, right? When we've been able to go into the field, see where some of your strengths are, see where some of your weak spots are, and then go and say, hey, you know what? Like you need to continue to develop this over the next 90 days. You need to develop this over the 90 days. And that should be pretty easy for both of us, meaning us as a leadership team and you as a salesperson. It should be pretty easy for us to see what those goals need to be from a developmental standpoint. So the next part of that, though, is understanding when we're talking through the 2 weeks, how are we making sure that that 1 week is in a good spot to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to hit that second week in a good stride, right? And so week 1 should really be about breaking down those goals, going, how do I make sure that I have a sense of accomplishment by the end of this? And those should be feeding into what? Those goals should be feeding into your monthly goals, which should be feeding into your quarterly goals, right? So it should all work synchronized in a lot of respects. And look, I'll use the sales goal as an example. Our average sale is $22,000. And that's why your sales goal is 180K, because when you look at 4 weeks, you're going to go a 4-week, 4-week, 5-week month, or a quarter, right? 4-week, 4-week, 5-week quarter. So when we're looking at that, you only need, with an average sale of 22,000, you only need to sell 3 sales a month in order to stay on pace to hit your objective, right? Hit your goals. Now, we'd love for you to sell more than 100K, 180K. We're not gonna go, hey, you only have to do that. But we want to be realistic with setting our goals and making sure that you can actually have a sense of accomplishment by reaching them. And so that's why your 1 week, the things that you're doing for the next week that you're working in, right? So this week should be really focused and really accurate as to how you have planned and prepared to be able to execute this week so that you are hitting your goals that feed into those other goals. So for example, if 180K is my goal for the quarter, then $20,000 in sales should be my goal for this week. And by all the activities that I'm doing, from development to prospecting to connecting, should all be funneling towards the behaviors and disciplines necessary to make sure that I stay on course to hit that $20,000 goal this week. And I need to hit 25 interactions with store associates, and I need to hit 2 prospects, right? So when you take and break it down that way, and you have 7 days to make 1 sale, 25 interactions with people, and 2 prospects, it becomes much more manageable, as opposed to where it may feel like it's a little overwhelming when it's 180, 325, 26, right? And so that's why you want to really focus on making sure that you have a good plan and you've prepared really well for this week to make sure that you hit your goals and objectives. Natalie, your head's in the way. I can't. So the last one is the 1 day, which is the pivot. And so one of the things that we're going to continue to teach you is what we call a daily pivot. And our goal is actually to teach you how to pivot with yourself so that in the future, we don't have to sit there and do a sales meeting or a pivot on a daily basis with you. And this is maybe a month or so out. It's dependent on the individual. But the real goal is to make sure that you're sitting there and assessing your day each morning going, hey, this is what I want to accomplish, and here's how I'm going to go about doing it. And so when you look at the pivot, it's broken up into 4 things, which are projected, which is what you did yesterday, the results of what you had projected, what you're planning for today, and what are the expectations for tomorrow when I come back to this pivot. And so that's really the way that we do our daily interactions with our salespeople. We actually do that across the board with leaders as well. So we sit there and we go, hey, you know what? I'm going to 2 stores. I'm planning on having 25 interactions, and I'll be able to report tomorrow that I hit that number, and so on and so forth. So again, we will, by the end of this week, we'll start doing some pivoting together. But anyways, that is what the pivot is supposed to be, and it'll be something that is going to be beneficial to you. But again, projected is yesterday, results from yesterday based on what you were planning. Planning is for today, and expectations are for today. So just so you have an understanding of the time. All right? Okay, so now we're going to pivot. So we're going to pivot into the thing that we have to get accomplished by tomorrow, our objective, which is when we look at our quadrants, we looked at the pitch. The important thing that is the script for the value proposition. So, no, it's all right. We'll send it out afterwards. So what I'm going to do is we're going to work to knock out the first 3 steps. So if you remember yesterday, that is step 1 is customer analysis. Customer diagnosis. No, geez almighty. Sorry, got too many things going. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. How about that? Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not. I messed up. So what I'm getting ready to do, sorry to confuse you. What I'm getting ready to do is go through the script for step number 3, value proposition. So we're going to send you out the script after this. So again, yesterday you should have worked to be able to go through each one of these slides and give the intent behind each slide. Again, the purpose of that is because you want to know what it is that you're communicating and who you're, what the consumer is supposed to be getting from the visual as well as the audible that we're going to provide that customer. So that's why we started with the intent yesterday. So that way when we start talking the verbiage and the scripting aspect of what you need to learn and have recited by tomorrow evening, then hopefully it'll make more sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to briefly go through the next, and I don't have a timer, Natalie. Am I on pace for my time? Okay, there we go. All right, so this is for the next 30 minutes. We're going to go through I'm going to read through the script, and then we'll provide that to you so that you will have the actual script with the slides. It'll look something like this, but anyways. First of all, the intent, again, for slide number 1 is to be able to share with the customer what 5 concerns they ultimately need to find solutions for when it comes to this project. These are things that are going to provide objections later on if you don't build enough value and you don't find the solutions or help the customer find the solutions for as you go through this process. All right, so the scripting is this. So that brings us to planning for your project, and really every customer typically thinks about these 5 concerns when looking to take on any type of project, big or small. These concerns are the company, are they reputable, have they been in business, will they be in business after your project? The product, do you have lots of options, are they of high quality, and will they last you a long time? The installation, are the individuals in your home professionally trained, and more importantly, are they of good character? The warranty, heaven forbid something is to happen, do you have the means of recourse? And lastly, but not least, the investment. And I tell all of my customers this, in order for us to earn your business, the value of our products and service have to outweigh the cost. And I'm sure you guys would agree with that, right? So that's the end of slide number 1, okay? So again, you can see that the verbiage aligns with the intent, which is laying out the argument that these are the 5 concerns that they are going to have to overcome when it comes to this project. All right, so next we're going to deal with the cliche contractor. So the cliche contractor, again, is the intent of this slide is to just remind the customer, which most of our customers, when we look at our demographic, are between 40 and 70 years old, and they've probably all done some sort of, not all, but the vast majority of them have done some sort of project in their home. And so this is to remind them of the pitfalls of doing this project with the wrong person. So the scripting is this. So when you think of the construction industry, you might think about the cliche contractor. And you or someone that you may have known you or someone you know may have had a bad experience with one of these individuals. And that's because it just doesn't take much to become a contractor these days. For a few $100, someone can go get a truck, some tools, a nice shiny sign, and claim they can do anything. But how do we as trusting consumers know that the individual can do what they claim? And again, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Is that there are lots of, when you look at statistics for the construction industry, a lot of people have experiences like David. And so that's what we're bringing up. It's just, this is kind of the stereotypes. This is what you have to think through. Maybe they've had some experiences, and this is also when that customer that has had that experience, like David's going to be, oh yeah, man, I'm dealing with it right now. That's exactly what David would say, right? So that brings us to the next one, which is Home Depot, which is the solution. Okay, so the solution for the pitfall is Home Depot. So the idea here is, again, to sell the partnership of having Home Depot be able to come alongside and and have as the consumer, leverage the buying power and the steadfastness that is Home Depot in their backyard. So if they have any issues, they have resolution. So because of the risky industry, Home Depot wanted to do whatever it could to better protect their loyal customers, and that's why they created in-home services. Now that brings us to the Home Depot. What most customers don't know about us is that we're the world's largest hardware store and the 4th largest retailer in the United States. You might be wondering, well, why is this important to me? And we tell you for 2 reasons. First of all, we wouldn't have become the biggest and best without customer service being our #1 focus. Secondly, I'm sure you guys like to save money, because who doesn't? And because we buy in such large quantities, we're able to pass those savings on to you, the customer, right? So what are we sharing with them? We're sharing the 2 things that we're talking about. Buying power, because Home Depot is going to sell a billion widgets, right? They're going to sell a bunch of kitchens, a bunch of kitchen cabinets. There's not really anybody else, when you understand supply and demand, there's not really anybody else that's going to have the same buying power that Home Depot is. And the other part is that because, look, Home Depot is a 30, 40-year-old company. They're not a real old company, and they've grown to be one of the largest, retailers in that amount of time. You don't become that by screwing over your customer, right? So that's what we're communicating with the customer. All right, so that brings us to the next slide. Now this slide, what you'll find in the presentation, it has a couple different pieces. We don't show all the math all at once, but this will kind of give you the end result that you're looking for. So that brings us to what we call our vested interest. Again, the intent here is to take an emotional decision and make it a logical, add the analytics and the logic behind why they should make a wise decision by using Home Depot. By comparing the 2 things that we just did, right? We gave them the 5 concerns, then we gave them the problem with what they're trying to do. It's difficult to make sure that you're hiring the right person. Then we provided them the solution that we believe is best, which is Home Depot. But now we're going to provide them proof as to why we believe what we believe. Does that make sense? So this is almost the apologetics version. So the setup is this. You know, I have a question. How many times do you guys plan on renovating your kitchen? And the customer's going to say, well, once. And you go, absolutely. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right the first time. That's what my old man said, right? So, and this is important as you go through this to be methodical with it, because math is difficult for a lot of people. You got to make sure that the numbers they're able to be seen and understood and they're following you, right? So the scripting is this. Well, let me share with you 2 scenarios to better illustrate the way that we view you as a customer. First of all, let's pretend that you spent $30,000 on this kitchen with a local cabinet shop. Now, like you said, you're only going to do this project once, so that's why you're only worth $30,000 to that company, right? Makes sense? Leaving you with $0 of accountability, and that's really why those cliche contractors exist, right? It makes sense. There's nothing else for them to come back to. You're not going to do the kitchen again. There's nothing, if you're going to hire a good kitchen guy, that's what they do. They only do kitchens. So you want to understand why you don't have recourse? Because they're going to chase after somebody else's dollar, right? Now let's look at the Home Depot side. And let's say, go back, sorry. And let's say that you invested $30,000 with the Home Depot. Not only are all of our team members carefully vetted, but we understand that over your lifetime, you'll spend anywhere between $100,000 to $150,000 on purchases that include retail, do-it-yourself projects, and maybe even some other large projects. So obviously, we want to continuously work to earn your business, which will provide you with $70,000 worth of accountability that we as a company will continue to provide you the best products, the best service at the best price. With a company that values you as a customer that way, it only makes sense to do business with Home Depot. Okay? So the next is our renew, renovate, and makeover slide. And our transition is this. So again, what we're doing here, the intention is to show the customer these are the different types of options that you have in the industry to solve your problem. So let's take a look at the kitchen industry options, which basically boil down to renew, replace, and makeover. So what's the difference? All right, first of all, we have renew. The idea here is to show the customer that, again, the intent is to show the customer that there's two different ways to renew their kitchen. Neither one is really going to be a long-lasting solution, right? So you can do it, and we actually have products at Home Depot that we could sell you, which is paint, right? But based on the assessment that we did in step 1 and 2, we should have hopefully be able to eliminate this by going, you know, you're looking for something that's going to last you more than a year or two, right? So again, the intent is to kind of show the messiness, the lack of longevity when it comes to a solution. So the script is this. First of all, the great thing about Renew is that it's cheap, that it's a cheap fix. For a few $100s to a few $1,000s, you can do it yourself or you can have someone professionally do it for you. But the downside is the fact that it's a porous product, and you guys probably already know, but the two most prevalent materials in your kitchen are moisture and grease, which will end up absorbing into the finish, creating peeling, cracking, and those, you know, those black rings that we see on your, you know, around your hardware. So there you go, right? We've now given them that solution, that option. So next is replace. And this is where we will we'll play the video. And the great thing about replace is that you can tear down walls, you can completely change your layout. Oh, sorry, let me back up, I missed the intent part. Again, the intent of replace is to share with them the painful part of it's a long, inconvenient process to renovate a kitchen through replacement, right? And so that's the intent of sharing this part of that with them. So the script is this. Next is replace, and the great thing about replace is that you can tear down walls, you can completely change your layout, and you have millions of options to choose from. Most people will tell you the downside of this is the challenge of being without your kitchen from anywhere between 30 and 90 days on average, and like everything, quality can be pricey. So again, you can kind of see where we're laying out not only tearing down walls, completely changing your layout. Those are two things that a lot of our customers don't want to do anyways. So they're going, well, no, I don't want to do that. So they're eliminating themselves by process of elimination, right? Of going, well, no, I don't want to tear down walls, and no, I don't want to change my layout. Okay, great. And millions of options, what you're going to find is that there's a reason why the customer is inviting an in-home designer into their home. It's because they're freaked out about the fact that there's a bunch of different options to choose from. They want somebody to guide them through this design process. And so when you're looking at that going, well, no, I don't want to tear down walls. I don't want to change my layout. I mean, I'll go with my layout. I just want new cabinets. I want it to look better, right? Well, I don't want millions of options. I want someone to give me what I need, right? So that's kind of the idea of being able to articulate those things as we're communicating to the customer, going, hey, this is what Renovate is, okay? And then last but not least is makeover. And so what we do with makeover, so the intent here is to show the customer that makeover is way more than just doors and drawer front replacement. That's the intent. To show them that you're getting a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new product, and so we're dealing with the misconceptions of what the customer may or may not have thought we're here to do. Okay, so that's the intent. So last you have makeover, and this is a custom kitchen solution that uses all new factory manufactured products to transform your kitchen in a 3 to 5 day installation. Now, I would tell you that line that I just said is what you need to learn aside from the overall script, because that's your elevator pitch. Somebody goes, well, what do you do? Well, I sell cabinet makeover. Well, what is that? I don't know, right? No, it's a custom kitchen solution that uses all new factory manufactured products to completely transform your kitchen in a 3 to 5 day installation. So custom provides value. Solution, right? It's a problem. I have a problem, I need a solution. Factory manufactured means that I'm not going to be doing it in my basement or in my garage, right? So you're getting a quality product. And transform, these are the buzzwords, right? These are the words that we're using because it conveys the message that we want the customer. Transform is kind of like magic, right? We talked about an average kitchen remodel takes 30 to 90 days. This goes 3 to 5 days. I can get a whole new kitchen in 3 to 5 day installation. Holy crap. Tell me more, right? And again, these are not just sales points, but it's the brilliance of what it is that we actually sell. Like, we really do sell convenience. That's it, right? And we talked about from the very beginning of yesterday, time is valuable. Our time is valuable. Well, guess what? So is our customers' time. Convenience, time, these are the things that we're offering. So, let's look. So here's the script. So let's look at what's included with Makeover. So what we're going to do today is design your kitchen based on the door style, profile, color, etc. Then what we'll do is provide you a matching veneer that covers all the exteriors of your boxes. We'll then provide you with matching drawer fronts, new drawer boxes, new glide systems, all new European-style hidden hinges, designer knobs and pulls, moldings above and below your cabinets like toe kick and crown. And we can even add new countertops, backsplashes, improved organization. Heck, we can even add new cabinets, as you can see. The only thing that we don't do is we don't do electrical, we don't do plumbing, and we don't tear down walls. Other than that, we can completely transform your kitchen in as easy as 3 to 5 day installation. Okay, so that's what Makeover is. And then our last slide is our apples, what we call apples to apples. Again, the intention or the intent behind this slide is really, as we've gone through this entire thing, is to educate the customer. These are actual national averages as to what customers do in the kitchen industry. And as you look through all the way, we've built one slide on top of the other. So that when we get here, we're going, hey, you know what? I don't particularly care what you do. What I do care about, not that this is not the script, but what we're trying to communicate, I don't care what you do. I just want you to know that if you're going to do something, which you said you are, you should do it with Home Depot. And so here's how you can kind of understand what we have to offer in this industry so that you can make an advised decision. And so the intent of this slide is to let the customer know that you can get a new kitchen for a variety of different price points. But with those price points, there's a variety of different things that adjust as well, right? As the price goes up, you get better quality, you get more customization. As the price goes down, you get something more cheap, and you get less cost, right? And also, you might have to put some of your own sweat equity into it. So your time also is sucked up in that, right? So that's why we're showing this. And ultimately, the intent is to do a price condition, which is to let them know that this is not going to be a cheap solution, right? We're going to tell them that we're providing them custom at an affordable price. So that way, when we give them a price of $22,000, they're not shaken. It doesn't mean that some of them aren't going to be like, oh my gosh, right? But we've now told them, what? I'm going to give you a $20,000 to $30,000 price ticket because I'm providing you custom at an affordable price. Also, one of the things that we do is we use specific terms, like custom means value, means one of a kind, right? Versus affordable means what? Well, it's budget friendly. Well, I'm telling you, if you are, as a good salesperson, are communicating properly, I'm telling you that $20,000 to $30,000 is an affordable investment into this kitchen. Now, if you go and start like whimpering and shaking your voice going to $20,000, right? Like you're communicating that you're not comfortable with what it is that you're selling. Don't do that. But if you're confident in providing this information to the customer, they're going to go, okay, wow. And what you'll find is we're getting, and again, I'm kind of jumping a little forward, but what you're going to find is you're going to be leaving to go after this slide, or after these slides, you're going into the design, which you're going to be leaving the customer. Okay, you're going to go back to your car and grab some samples. Right here, you're going to be at the dining room table. You're going to go grab some samples. What you're going to find is the husband and wife are going to start going, I told you it was going to be more than such and such, when you're not there, right? One of them's going to have to tell you that they're right. So, the intent of this, let me pull it back, right? The intent of this slide is to price condition the customer. Makeover is more like a renovate kitchen. When you look at the types of renovate kitchens, most people today will buy one of these two types. Either a custom kitchen, which includes high quality products with all the bells and whistles, customized to exactly what you want, or people go with the more affordable option. The main difference is less options, less quality. So now, if you do any type of research, you'll find that the national average of a custom kitchen today is somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000, or somewhere around $50,000, whereby an affordable is somewhere around $25,000. So the way that makeover stacks up is the quality and value of our products are that of a custom kitchen, and the price is more of an affordable. This provides our customers with not only the most convenient solution, but also we're able to save them a bunch of money. And the great thing about makeover is the fact that the price of your kitchen is dependent on the size of your kitchen and the products that you choose, which gives us the ability to fit in just about everyone's budget. And that is the end of what you need to have learned by tomorrow night. All right? So hopefully that makes a lot more sense. And again, you have to have this memorized by Wednesday night. You have to have it done. If not, you don't continue training. That's just the way that it is, okay? So I would impress upon you to understand, that's why we've gone through the painstaking process of giving you the intent, so you understand why, when we go back to that quadrant, right? What's the objective? Well, the objective is to learn this. The why, the commitment is all the intent that I've given you to this point as to this is why we're saying what we're saying. So as you're learning the actual script, you can go and say, okay, no, I get what I'm trying to communicate to the customer. It'll make it that much easier, but you have to learn this because this is this 7-minute pitch is the part in which you will build value in being able to leverage that value when it comes to closing. If you do a crappy job of this, you won't have success, you won't be able to hit your goals, and you won't hit mine. So this is where it starts, and that's why we made this a priority, okay? So if you have questions, you know where they need to go, and I would assume that you might have some questions about this. I'm not asking you by tomorrow, from an objective standpoint, I'm not asking you to have it all down with tone and pace and volume change and theatrics, but you need to know the verbiage, and you need to know which verbiage goes with which page. Okay, that's the expectation. It needs to be delivered upon. So anyways, Natalie will be sending this out so that all of you will have this thing that I just read through. And you will also have some tasks and some time set aside today for independent work as well as tomorrow for your independent and collaborative work time to be able to go ahead and work through this so that you can have success and you can meet your objective. But anyways, that is our step number 3, value proposition script. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break and get water, get restroom, do what you need to do. We'll start back up at 10 o'clock.